Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Before we get going, you know what to do. Keep banging that subscribe button. We're getting super close to that 10K. We keep mentioning it every time for the newcomers. At 10,000 subscribers, we're doing a crazy giveaway. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But all of that said, let's get to the business. Steve, what the heck are we talking about today? Because this could get hot and heavy.
Yeah, this is going to be controversy. All right. We're not in this business for, people just to come here and to agree with us. All right. I think we got one today that's divided. All right. And now that I know who we're talking as of 20 seconds ago, this was not planned. We're going to be talking to Michigan, Ohio State, how it relates to the NFL. But we got a couple guys that, the NFL draft's coming up, Will. And there's some guys that I don't even want to touch with the 10-foot pole in this draft. And there's not many. What you got?
Before you even say this, I do want to just openly say I'm nervous. And the reason is because I do know who you're going to talk about, but I have no idea why. And then the same thing, I laid my guy on you, and I don't think that you know why either. So but it's just like the fact that I don't know why, and he's kind of one of our guys, so to speak. I don't know, man. I'm on the edge of my seat. Well, what are you about to lay on me? And then you guys are about to get a true blue reaction. So
yeah,
that's it. Go ahead, do what you got to do.
So there's only a couple guys in this draft that I just don't want flat out at all. And I'm just going to say it. Like, one of them is cornerback Will Johnson out of the University of Michigan. Will, I'm not interested. All right. Yeah. I'm taking his name and I'm scratching it off of my draft board completely. Now, for everyone saying, and in the comments, I remember last year we were doing draft talk and everyone was saying, oh, Will Johnson won't be there. He's a top 10 pick. He very well may be. And I hope so, because he's not on my list. But people were saying the same thing last year when it came to Terrion Arnold. He fell to the Detroit Lions at pick 24. People were saying Quinyon Mitchell was a top 15 pick. He wouldn't slide. He fell to 22 for the Philadelphia Eagles. People were saying that Nate Wiggins wouldn't fall past the top 15. He fell to 30 to the Baltimore Ravens. People fall in this draft. And if not Nate Wiggins, if Will Johnson happens to be even within striking range, or if he falls out of the top 10, or if something happens and he falls to pick 28, well, I have zero, and I mean zero interest. He's not even on my radar. He's not even on my draft board. I'm just going to pretend that he's not even a prospect in this NFL draft. Now, there's a lot of people saying, are you nuts, Steve? He's the top corner in the NFL draft this year. How can you say that?
And hold on, before you go, that was going to be my question too. So is this because I'm a little bit confused. So is this because you just don't want a corner at pick 28, or is this a Will Johnson thing?
It's a Will Johnson thing. All right. We could not have Terrion Arnold. We could lose Carlton Davis. We could lose Amik Robertson. We could have zero corners on this team. Not interested in Will Johnson. Here's the thing. Well, I see that look on your face. I know you're confused. Yeah. I know you're wondering why. Will Johnson has not played football since the 5th of October. All right. It has been 6 months. Okay. We lost to Texas, and his last game was a loss at the University of Washington. And he said, I'm just going to sit out the rest of the year. I'm going to preserve my draft stock. I don't want to play football. I don't want to get in the trenches with my teammates. I don't want to try to turn this thing around and go back-to-back natty championships. On top of that, 6 months of not playing football. Doesn't work out at the NFL Combine. And as of yesterday, this is when he was off my list. Not working out at his pro day, Will. I question how much he wants to play football, because he sat out a whole season pretty much in his last year of college, not going to the combine and working out, not working out at his pro day because of a hamstring injury. You haven't played football in 6 months. You should have been taking these last 6 months and doing nothing but getting yourself prepared for your combine, for your pro day, whichever one you choose to do. To do neither, huge question mark for me, Will. It's a huge red flag for someone to sit out that long and say, hey, I'm really just going to rely on my game tape, which is phenomenal. He's got phenomenal tape. But when I was watching the combine, I actually think it was the DBs. They just finished running their 40-yard dashes, and the coaches that were getting ready to work them through the drills. I remember one of the camera guys from the NFL Network got right up in there in the huddle. And I think it was a coach from the Miami Dolphins who was in charge of running the drills. He got everyone around and he gathered them up and said, hey, look, this is your fucking job interview. You want a job in the NFL? Go out there and put on a show. Make all these GMs out here make a tough decision on you, whether or not to draft you or not. And for Will Johnson to take just days off and not even have any interest in working out and doing his job interview and just saying, hey, I'm just going to give you my resume of what I've done, that should be good enough. To me, it's not good enough. I need to see, and I'm not a huge combine guy, but for him to just say, yeah, I don't have to do a combine, I don't have to do a pro day, like, just check my tape. I don't know if it's ego or if he doesn't want to do football, but I don't know, Will. I'm out. Hard pass for me.
Yeah, I just got lots of questions. Before I even get into my spiel, my first question would be this. If by some freak of nature, and I was looking up because I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. I know it was early in the second round. All right, second round pick 14 is when Brian Branch went. Okay, so if by some fluke he slides to the second round, top half of the second round, because we're talking hypotheticals. People do slide, so it's day 2. It's first 2-3 picks of the second round. Will Johnson is still on the board. Are you interested in sliding up and go? Because it sounds like you got some passion behind what you're talking about. Would you then be interested, top half, we'll say top 3 picks of the second round, would you be interested in going to get him there?
Listen to this, Will. All right. Great question. Good journalists ask good questions. That's what you're doing here. I respect it. I would rather have Tease Tabor come out of free agency than sign Will Johnson or draft free than draft Will Johnson. I'm standing on an island here. I know that this island is probably Steve Perkins is probably the only person on this population of this island that's not wanting Will Johnson, but it's just a bad look. I don't understand. Like, if you had played a whole college football season and got hurt against Alabama in the bowl game, I could understand. Like, oh, okay, maybe he's still nursing a boo-boo or something, but we're going back to the first week of October. No football, no combine, no pro day. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this is an ego thing for him and he's telling teams, just watch my tape, but sometimes you got to do the hard stuff. Sometimes you got to do things in football you don't want to do. You might have to go out and run that 40-yard dash. You might have to do that. Some of these drills, these agility drills, these interviews. I don't know what it is, but it could be pick 256. Not interested. Take them off my board, Will. You're not going to change my mind with your questions. All right. There's no leading me down a different path. And look, I'm a diehard Michigan football fan. Diehard. Believe me, you cut me open right now, Will, you're going to see maize and blue come out of my veins. Okay. But I'm not a homer. All right. What you did for me at the University of Michigan was fantastic. College-wise, you're one of the best to ever come through the university. I respect that. But when it comes to you playing for my Detroit Lions, not interested.
Wow. I gotta gather myself real quick.
Bring me Tease Tabor. Bring him.
Golly. I mean, you're basically saying just start Kendall Vildor at this point.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Listen, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. Whoo, I gotta take a deep breath on that one. You know what I respect, Steve, in all seriousness? I respect a standard that you're holding, right? And I think that speaks to what our team is. We draft winners. And that's never been something that Brad Holmes has came out and said. He said a lot of things, but he's never just said, hey, man, we draft winners. But if you look at our history, we draft guys that are successful at their schools. We draft guys who are captains of their football teams. I mean, if you look through our draft picks historically, we're drafting guys who are leaders. So I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole bunch about Will Johnson not playing. Last I knew, he was injured. And then I did see some Twitter stuff about his draft stock kind of sliding a little bit. I didn't hear anything crazy like him sliding out of the first round or anything crazy. But I did see some stuff about his stock potentially sliding because he wasn't working out. I did see that. But I was kind of in the mindset of, hey, tape don't lie. It is what it is. But if there is, and I got to do some more digging on it. I got to, when we get off of here, because I am curious. Now I'm going to be trying to look at for interviews and, whatever. But I take you at your word. You ain't never lied to me before. So, but for me, if it is a character issue, are you a team guy issue, I wouldn't want him on the Detroit Lions either. I would stand with you on that. Now, it's a little bit shocking. And if there's any way that we can get around it, like I'm going to be looking for glass half full. Hopefully we sit down in that interview room and I find out something different. But if it is what it is, I'd be with you on it, because essentially it doesn't matter. And if you're talking about a team like the Detroit Lions, we had an opportunity to get a guy like Jalen Carter, and we chose not to because we obviously didn't believe that it was a fit. Obviously knew that he was a generational talent, but sometimes, a lot of times, your character gets away. It gets in the way of your generational talent. So obviously that wasn't the case with Jalen Carter, or at least it hasn't been the case yet. But it is something that you should be thinking about. So Steve, while you did throw me for a loop, I'll rock what you on it, man. I'll rock what you on it, man, because we shouldn't be getting guys in here that don't fit what we're trying to do. So I'll ride.
Yeah, while you're talking, I was just looking up like when Michigan's pro day is, and it's March 21st. So it came out yesterday, March 7th, that he's not going to work at his pro day because of a hamstring injury. Like, you don't think you can nurse that thing back to health in 2 weeks or even longer, depending on when you did it? Like, I don't know. 6 months is just a lot of time to get right. And I understand, working out, training, like you pull some things, but 6 months is a long time to not see anything football related at all. So it's pretty much he's done no football activities other than keep himself maybe in shape for the last 6 months. Like, I know I'm probably literally the only one in the universe who doesn't want Will Johnson, unless I've maybe sold someone, and that's not what I'm here to do. But I don't know. It's just fishy to me that a top end prospect doesn't want to work out. I mean, if you get drafted by the Lions, are you going to not want to practice? Are you going to not want to sit in team meetings? Are you not going to want to do the things that we don't know about and just play football? Because that's not what they're paying you to do. They're paying you to do a lot of different things, not just show up on game days. Like, you got to put the work in. You got to practice. You got to do things. You got to fight through some injuries. So I don't know if you can't get through a little hamstring injury. I don't see him even being available for 17 games in the NFL. So hard pass for me.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll say on it is this. One of the heart and souls, if not the heart and soul of the Detroit Lions, is Aiden Hutchinson. And that's a guy who probably could have left a year sooner than he did and wouldn't have been a top 10 pick. And he decided to run it back because he wanted to smack the team down south, right? He wanted to get an opportunity to go win a national championship. That's just the type of guy he is. This situation that you're articulating screams me guy. That's obviously not what the Detroit Lions are looking for. So for those reasons, like I said, most likely, I'll tell you, I'm 90% rocking with you already, but I am going to do a little bit more digging just because I'm curious to see what more is out there. So Will Johnson, you're not invited to Steve's birthday party. Do not send the baby any gifts.
Well, hey, you could do that, like a Michigan onesie or something back in time. Like I don't hate you. I just, hey, I just want you on one of the 31 other teams in the league, not the Detroit Lions.
Right. So fair enough. So what else we got, man? What else we got?
I already know who your guy is, so I'm curious. I'll let you set the table. I'll let you give your reasoning, and we'll talk about it. And again, this is very ironic that these are the two guys we're talking about.
It was not planned. Was not planned at all. So this is a guy who I've scratched off on my draft board probably a couple of weeks. Well, actually, I'd say probably about a couple of months ago. As crazy as that sounds. He was a guy who was getting mocked to us. He's a guy that a lot of people talk about, have a great attitude, great motor, relentless type of guy. And you mentioned him early in the draft before we truly got to digging and watching film. When we were just watching football games, you had mentioned him, and I was kind of like, I don't know, and that's none other than Jack Sawyer. Jack Sawyer. Now, before people, because there's people out there, and I've gotten messages on Twitter. I haven't really got text messages, but I've gotten some messages on Twitter talking about why haven't we talked about Jack Sawyer more? Jack Sawyer is the next TJ Watt. Like, just all type. Oh yeah. Twitter gets weird. Gets weird. People get on Twitter and they message me, people that, and listen, don't get this wrong, because I want you to continue to do that. Get on there, and if you want to hear us talk about somebody, you feel like we missed on something, hey, listen, my DMs are open, man. My DMs are open. Feel free to reach out and let's talk about it. But I haven't talked about Jack Sawyer a whole bunch just simply because I don't like his game. But Jack Sawyer and I had a recent experience, and I don't mean personally, I mean through film. And it's not because I was watching him. I've been going through this draft process and I've really been focusing on the defense. I want to bolster this defense. I want athletic freaks down to sleepers from, first round draft picks. I'm looking all over the place trying to find these athletic freaks that are not only just athletic freaks, they also meet the characteristics of somebody that should play for the Detroit Lions when we're talking about a tough, gritty football player, when we're talking about a smart football player, a team guy, a leader, probably a captain of their football team, all of the things that we talk about when we're talking about a Detroit Lion. That's what I'm looking for. And through that, lately, and people have called us out on it too, hasn't been a lot of offense. I was digging through the guards, and I was digging through the guards similar to last year. Finally, I got an opportunity to start really just looking at offensive linemen. It wasn't just guards. It was centers. It was interior linemen. It was and you guys know I'm a weirdo, man. So I like to just find guys. So I'm looking at tackles that maybe are going to end up being guards in the NFL. I'm looking all over the place. I'm digging. So I started finding that team down south playing in these big football games. They were the asterisk mark national champions last year. Asterisk mark because they got their ass kicked by Go Blue. But
Will Johnson wasn't there for it.
Yeah, I apologize, but we don't need to talk about that because that's not what the show is about. The show isn't about us as the Michigan Wolverines beating that team down south. So we won't make the show about that because us beating the team down south is all right. Never mind, but that is past. I only said it 3 times, anyways. So, but in watching, I started watching them playing all of these teams like Texas and all of the bigger teams. And then some of these teams got tackles and guards that are in the NFL draft this year. And I'm watching those guys just on a coincidence. I'm like, man, OSU is up here. Let me see what's going on. JT's getting bodied by these guys. Jack Sawyer's getting bodied by these guys. Those guys weren't dominating the football games or impacting the football games. When I think about the national championship, I forgot Jack Sawyer was at the game at one point. I'm like, man, he wasn't impacting the football game in a way that screams, let's go draft him, right? Then I started reading the scouting report on him, and it says things like there's a big time question of his athleticism, right? Like, because having a relentless motor doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in the NFL, because I feel like his motor and his strength is what wills him into wins in college football. You're probably not just going to be physically dominant as far as strength, period, over the guy that you're going against in the NFL. The guy that you're going against in the NFL, that tackle is probably going to be substantially bigger than you. You're probably just not going to body him, especially if he knows that's all you got. You're not going to beat me with speed. This is going to be power on power. He's going to set up. He's going to anchor down on you. And you're not going to be able to just body NFL linemen. So that's a worry of mine. Ability to be able to disengage blocks. Steve, his arms are 31 inches.
Yeah, he's built like a T-Rex.
Listen, my arms are longer, and I'm 4 feet tall. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Like it's a no for me, and it's a no not only in the first round. If he slid to the second round, I would rather take a guy like Jordan Burch than take Jack Sawyer. Now, am I saying Jack Sawyer is going to be horrible? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying for me, it's a no because I want athletic freaks. I want the measurables to be right, and I want the attitude to be right. That's it. So when I look at the measurables, when I look at the athleticism, I just don't see it. And I don't see it at all. So people that are still mocking Jack Sawyer, I will be surprised if Jack Sawyer even goes in the first round. I'll be shocked. Because when I watch his film and then I fast forward that, right, to the measurables, I just don't see it. He's not twitchy. We're not even going to talk about him being first off the ball. Sometimes he's last off the ball. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I see if I don't see it. Jack Sawyer is a guy to me. I feel like if he ended up going at the top half of the third round, I'd be like, okay. But I think he'll definitely go in the second round. Somebody will take a chance on him. But I think JT is definitely going to go ahead of him. His buddy on the same team. Jack Sawyer is a no for me, Steve. Am I crazy? How you feel about it?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I was kind of already with you. I remember before the Notre Dame Ohio State game, I think it was like the day before, and I texted you and I said, it's going to be hard to get Jack Sawyer off my mind at pick 28. I said I really like him, but I told you I'm really going to focus on him tomorrow night in the game against Notre Dame and see what he does. That was the only player I watched. I don't care who won the game. I hate Notre Dame. I hate Ohio State. I probably would have preferred Notre Dame win, but I don't care. I was watching Jack Sawyer, and I told you the day after the game, I was like, man, I don't know. Like there were some times where I was watching, and when Notre Dame would snap the football, Jack Sawyer would be the last one off the ball. I didn't see explosiveness. I didn't see him taking over the game. I thought he had an okay game against Texas. I know he had the scoop and score to seal it, but before that, he wasn't really doing too much. So yeah, he did make a play in that Texas game to get to the national championship, but other than that, Michigan shut him down. Oregon shut him down. Texas shut him down other than the one play. Notre Dame shut him down. I'm looking at these big premier key programs in college football taking care of one of the supposed best players on that defensive line, and him just not doing much. And then the short, I like his motor. I like his speed. I like his relentlessness, but I don't know. I just don't see someone who gets off the ball very fast. Like his 40 time, I don't even know what his 40 time was, but I don't know. I was sold on Jack Campbell before I really, really, really started paying attention to what he does. So I don't want him at pick 28. If some crazy stuff happens and a lot of pass rushers go in the late first round and all throughout the second, and Jack Sawyer happens to be one of the top 3 guys on the board at pick 60, I'd probably be okay with it, but he's not on my draft board for the first round. I'll agree with you at that point. So at pick 60, would he be your guy?
No.
Not
I can't envision a world where he would be my guy until pick 101. If we got a Jack Sawyer at pick 101, I'd be like, okay. Because I do think as a rotational piece, his motor, his relentlessness, now we're talking. If this is a dude that's going to play 10 to 15 snaps and he's going to be all out, and then you can go get him to play special teams as well. Okay. Not now in that type of scenario. Okay, yeah, for sure. But if you're telling me that Jordan Burch was available and we went Jack Sawyer, no, I can't get with it, man. I can't get with it, especially when there's just so many dudes out there. We're talking about it all the time, man. Donovan Izoroku, James Pierce, like Mike Green. No. Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart. It's too many dogs out there for me to be talking about having my man Jack Sawyer at pick 28. And then pick 60, they still got the Princely's out there. I mean, it's just still a lot of guys out there.
A lot of guys.
I would rather have. Yeah. So in this draft, maybe in a different draft, maybe I'd be looking at him at the second round as our choice. But in this draft, I just don't see it, man. Like I said, I wouldn't even be surprised if he went in the top of the third round and he was one of those guys that people started questioning, like, why is Jack Sawyer on the board? If he's the guy that Mel Kiper's going through the list, hey, Jack Sawyer was the 8th edge rusher that I had on my list, and here we are at the top of the third round, and he's still on here, man. Like, we're going to be keying on him to see if anybody selects him today. I won't be surprised if that happens, man. But again, no shade to him. It's just what I see from the film and how I'm putting together things in my mind, So it remains to be seen, man. We'll probably go the first edge rusher off of the board, and I'll look like an idiot.
All right. Hot question. In their prime, whatever that may look like to you, would you rather have Nick Fairley or Jack Sawyer on this Detroit Lions D line?
Listen, man, give me Nick Fairley, man. Overweight. Give me an overweight Nick Fairley first, man, and that'd be for him, man, for sure. 10 times out of 10.
Anything else for today?
No, man, that's it, man. Guys, let us know how you feel in the comments, man. Or if there's
I'm sure people will let us know how they feel about this one. I'm very confident.
Yeah. Or if there's anybody on your draft board that you're just like, top 50 guys, man, that you're scratching off the list completely, man. Because I know Mike Green is off a couple people's lists. Walter Nolan is off a couple people's lists, man. So let me hear it, man. I want to hear who you guys have scratched off your list completely.
There you have it, guys. Stephen Will bringing back Nick Fairley and Tease Tabor to this Detroit Lions defense rather than drafting Will Johnson and Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Again, not a setup. Very ironic that we talked a Michigan guy and an Ohio State guy today. Not many people we don't love in this draft, but that's just 2 of them for us. So stick around, hit that like button if you choose to. I know this was, like I said, people will be leaving their opinions in the comments. I'm very confident in that.
Don't unsubscribe. Don't unsubscribe. One show. Just one show, guys.
Yeah, just maybe just one. I don't know, but hit that subscribe button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.